welcome back. And as we earlier said, that the worldwide countries are participating in controlling the COVID-19. And of course, Minister of Health, Dr. Hala Zayed, announced that Egypt is currently working with countries around the world to secure the COVID-19 vaccine once one is tested with a proven effective, of course. And also Egypt is participating in clinical trials with other countries, of course, in developing the vaccine, and also following up with other two major companies worldwide that are releasing the vaccine. And there are talks how this vaccine is going to be distributed to countries according to the most needy, and according also to the statistics, the readings of the highest infections in each country, the official releasement of course the coronavirus or the pandemic. Of course, we have with us right now, if you would like to, Professor Ramy Karam Aziz. You were listed among 20% of the world scientists according to the scientific output. Of course, it's an honor to be able to have you here on the Breakfast Show and have a great scientist like you, an Egyptian scientist, and of course at this very critical and crucial moment or moments in the lives of every person, when having scientists trying to decide the best interest of humanity everywhere, not a specific country. Talking about this pandemic, this is the whole world is going through a second wave. Thanks to God, Egypt is until now haven't recorded that much numbers of infections. But at the same time, we're very concerned about the news releasing the vaccines that were announced by the WHO and by Johns Hopkins University and by the two companies. They said that they're going to release it soon. If you would like to elaborate over this, how is it going to be distributed?
Thank you. First of all, good morning, and thank you for inviting me. So, of course, as you said, the whole world has been concerned about the vaccine for a long time. We have been waiting for this moment for a long time. But actually, all the news that came out last 2 weeks are better news than expected. So, there is more than 100 vaccines around the world that are being tried, and maybe a dozen of them are already in the last phase of trial, which is phase 3. So, first of all, that's one of the better news, because we have so many alternatives that are being tested at the same time. As you said, two major companies announced that their vaccines achieved a high percentage, which is over 90%. The exact numbers are not really, so we shouldn't take it like 94 or 95, anything above. So the expectation first of all was looking for a minimum of 50%. So we already are. So these companies are far above that. So having a 90% number, this is, as
one
we say,
of them
too,
is
too
90
good to be.
to our,
Right.
our belief, and another one is 75 or 25.
So the numbers will change all the time.
Okay.
Because the more, so they give the vaccine to 15,000 people, and another injection similar to the vaccine as a control. We call it placebo, like just to compare. So 15,000 people took the vaccine, and 15,000 people took just salt water, and then they start counting the case. So very quickly, because now the infection, as you said, the infections are surging again, because in the northern part of the planet, because it's winter everywhere or late fall. So the number of people who have been infected was 100, and then 200 people who developed disease. And when they looked how many of these were vaccinated, it was a very small number. This is how they calculate the vaccine efficacy. So if you have 180 people and only 5 or 6 of them have been vaccinated, it means the vaccine protects more than 90%. So that's what the two companies we mentioned. So there are two major companies that did that. And then later, last week, a third company that is collaborating with Oxford University in England, they released their vaccine. So they were a bit unlucky, because they came after these two companies and they said our average success rate or efficacy is 70%. But this is still above the experimental trial threshold, so it's good. And actually, if you look at the details, they have 2 doses, they give two different regimens of this vaccine. So those who received the smaller dose in the first time and then the larger dose in the second time reacted better. So it reached even 90% in this smaller group. So all the news are good regarding the international companies. How it will be distributed depends on how it will be produced. So these companies are still doing the experiments, but in the same time the factories are making doses of the vaccine. And as soon as they get approval or registration by the FDA and the European bodies and so many international bodies, they will start releasing, but I don't think they can make more than, they said, about 25 million doses per month. So we want to...
It's not going to be enough.
Yeah, so we want to vaccinate 7,000 million people, like 7 billion people on the planet. So it will take almost a year to produce enough vaccine, not just by these three companies I mentioned, but also there is a Chinese vaccine. And this one is actually the one being tested in Egypt. There is a Russian vaccine we heard about.
The Russian, of course.
And it has been tested. And each one has a different... components or different way to make vaccines. So some of them have advantage and some have disadvantage, which means that we are really looking at good success rate, because even if one of them fails, if one strategy fails, the other will work well. If one is very safe but not very effective, the other...
One might have side effects, for example.
Yeah, we're looking... So the trials are looking at all of these things. So already we know that there is not major short-term side effects. So anybody who takes an injection of a vaccine, they will develop a little bit of itching maybe,
allergy,
or a little bit of pain. Maybe you will have fever for a short time, just because you are... Fever is good actually in this case, because you are training the immune system. So if you have some fever just for a couple of days, it's very well known. It's a vaccine-induced fever, but nothing serious. But we won't know for sure until there is 6 months after the trial.
But when we hear this, we need to talk about 3 elements. 2 of them are medical or scientific. One of them is humane. The 2 scientific ones is the antibodies in each body is different from one person to the other. So how is that estimated? The thing is that how does the vaccine work? We used to know, our knowledge about the vaccine is that we were acquainted with vaccines like the normal vaccines for flu and common colds and everything, and sometimes it doesn't work with some people.
Yeah,
the third element, and we're going to talk respectively about it, which is in the media outlets, they talked about the rich countries and the poor countries. So they said these vaccines, all the vaccines that come to that are taken in that topic are going to be available only more as a priority for rich countries. So which element would you like to start with?
So there are 7,000 million people talking about this. Well, not all of them. Some of them are children, but I wouldn't trust most of what is on the internet, especially now, other than the official releases. So there is no such thing as rich or poor country in vaccine distribution. It all depends on treaties. So so for example, the USA already bought 300 million doses from both companies. They did what is called as Operation Warp Speed. They paid ahead of time for these companies to produce for them. But for the rest of the world, each country has its own deals with companies. On top of the WHO, which also has policies to subsidize vaccines. So this, I wouldn't be concerned about the rich and poor thing very much. The point to be concerned about is the country that produces the vaccine. Of course, if the company is in the USA, it will certainly give priority to the country there. But so as I told you, in Egypt, for example, I don't work in the Ministry of Health. I don't know the exact information, but I know that Egypt has already deals with different companies. We are already testing the Chinese vaccine, but we also have our own. So the research center and many of the labs in the army have produced already prototypes for vaccines. We have 4 Egyptian vaccines, and at least 2 of them are being also tested. So that's a strategic product. Even if we're not going to use this vaccine that is being tested, it gives us an advantage in negotiating and with companies and so on. So I am optimistic, but I don't want people to be very rushing into vaccines. So we have to wait at least 3-4 months, and that's good for us. It's good to wait a little bit because, as you said, the short-term safety is now okay. Nobody saw any bad side effects. But we have to wait at least 3 more months to see if there is a little bit of long-term or
But
delayed.
3 more months is going to be the peak.
Yeah, well, we have to. So anyway, we don't expect a mass production of the vaccine before March, because they're still already seeking emergency approval from the American FDA. And after the emergency approval, you want to seek a more like emergency approval means you use only for high risk situations. And then you start seeking the final approval of these vaccines. And for the humane reason, you meant not just for ethical reasons, but also for safety, it's better not to rush too much. We have already been waiting for maybe 9 months, so we can wait 2-3 months and keep our distances and our protection. Better than taking something that is not very effective or not safe.
Of course.
So it's a balance, and everybody's waiting for this. So I hope.
But the other element might come to the concern to whoever who is hearing us right now would say, is there a specific time that you could be eligible for acquiring that vaccine? I mean, I can take it anytime. Once I'm infected, I cannot take the vaccine. Am I supposed to take it while I'm in contact with other people who are infected? When do I get vaccinated? How efficient will it work? How many doses I'm supposed to take?
So the 2 vaccines that were announced in the US have 2 doses, also the British one. But some vaccines are tested with 1 dose. But let's say we will take this one that has been already 95% effective. It has to be taken at 2 weeks apart or 3 weeks apart, the first dose and the second dose. So we still, even after being vaccinated, I would say we still have to be careful, because the vaccine will prevent disease, but for some time, until we develop, as you said, everybody develops immunity at a different extent. Until we develop full immunity, we can still infect somebody. So you can be safe of the disease, but you can infect somebody else if they have not been vaccinated yet. So until most people are vaccinated,
I can infect, but I could be safe if I'm vaccinated.
Right, like carriers. So we know that some people are carriers; they are asymptomatic. So at least for a few months, we have to stay with. I know it's not convenient, but we have to stay with the physical distancing and protection.
Of course.
Even
the hygiene.
Yeah, until almost everybody is who is susceptible.
What about people with chronic disease? Can they acquire the vaccine also, or they should have a different kind of vaccine?
All these questions will be, we don't know yet. So for each vaccine there are counter indications until now, but so it depends who they tested it on. So I think they started with middle-aged people, with young and middle-aged people. I think they will start going to older persons and
then with
children,
the complicated cases,
to make sure that it will work with children and it will be safe for the elderly. But for now, the most susceptible to COVID-19, as you know, is the elderly. So that's what our concern is. So as soon as it's safe for the older citizens, I hope we will start by them.
Hopefully, inshallah. But also the Minister of Health has said that Egypt is participating in clinical trials with other countries to develop the coronavirus vaccines.
Yes.
There are if you'd like to elaborate over this.
Yeah, so as I said, we already have...
Are they going to test it? They are already testing it on people,
there is
human beings.
So clinical trials are important, and there is already a vaccine that I said that was made from China. I don't know exactly. So some of the information about what is in the vaccine are not available to us, but it's an inactivated virus, so it means it's safe, but also we want to see if the body will respond well to it. And there are different types of vaccines that were developed in Egypt. One of them is also inactivated virus, but the other is a genetic, like a DNA virus, not exactly similar to the American one, but in the same concept. Instead of giving the virus, you give a genetic element, a DNA that encodes the protein that will immunize us. This is safer. So so I think we are in much better situation now than a few months ago. So we should be more hopeful and optimistic.
Hopefully, inshallah. Doctor, you work on microbiology and immunology, which is something great, and the whole world now is hoping the immunity against coronavirus will work. Of course, every scientific institution is working on that particular issue of immunity and strengthening the immunity. And we heard the 3 vaccines that are being to be released. From your own point of view, How important is securing our immunity and strengthening our immunity on a parallel way to the vaccines?
Yeah, so this is what we, what everybody was advising since January and February, that we just have to keep our health in good shape. So there is not a particular. So you hear a lot of natural products that may strengthen the immunity. Nothing has been 100% proven, but the best recipe is not a product to take, but the best recipe is exercise, but not too hard exercise, but to keep exercising, to sleep well, and to stay away of stress. I know this is hard, but yeah, the best thing is
we're trying
to reduce stress and to stay away of stress, although the whole pandemic is stressing us. And of course, good nutrition with a lot of vitamins, especially vitamin C and D. So
right, but I know time is very little for this very precious interview, but also when it comes to elderly people, do you have any special advice for immunity?
Yeah, so immunity, of course, decreases a little bit in older age, but the best advice is for us to take care of our elders is not to expose them to the virus. So we try as much as possible, if we're visiting the elderly, to keep the distance. Even if we live in the same place, stay at a good distance, use the mask, and get them anything they need instead of exposing them to supermarkets and stores. So that's
the Cairo University has 55 scientists, among them 2% in the world, and Egypt has approximately 400. What does that mean? I want you to explain to the viewers.
So we switched. So thank you. So you are talking about. So lately we heard in the news that the international database that is called Scopus. It's an international database that has all everything that's scientific, every scientific publication. And lately, like last month, some scientists classified all the world scientists. And as you said, Egypt has almost 400 of our scientists. And Cairo University alone has 55, so more than 1 out of 8 maybe is in Cairo University. So we are really happy about this in Cairo University.
And also proud.
Yeah, we are very proud and happy because, not just because it's the #1 in Egypt, and I want to point that it's not a competition. All universities are collaborating, but we are happy that the policies that Cairo University is using, the university is very generous in rewarding all. So everybody who publishes gets rewarded for this. In international journals, even the rewards have doubled last year. And also funding research, which is more important than rewarding.
Of course, it's very important to fund.
So the ministry and the academy is funding research, but the Cairo University has been providing its own projects. So I personally received a project from Cairo University.
I was going to also move to this.
Having this number makes us not just on the national level, but on the international level, it's a very good achievement.
Worldwide recognition, but also you as a scientist.
I want to add, sorry, one thing is, we also, so I always say this to my children, so we compete with ourselves first. So for example, I don't look at others and try to be ahead, but also I want to be ahead of myself. So in 2017, Cairo University, I think, had 32 in this list. So now we are 55. So we are quite.
That's
all proud
quite an achievement.
Yeah, very
but
good.
also
we
because
want to be 100.
Hopefully, inshallah, and we're pretty sure that you reach more than 100. Dr. Ramy Karam, you were listed among top 2% of the world scientists, which is not. which is not little. According to the scientific output and publication impact since 2017, 2018, and 2019, what is the list and what makes it, and why is it very important to be able to be revealed to people, to be in full recognition of people of your like?
Yes, so again, so this is similar. So everybody follows sports, for example, and we are always proud, for example, in Egypt, especially of our squash team, because we have among the top 10, most of them are Egyptians, for example. So of course in science we need that more importantly. So it's really good to come. So we are working hard. Everybody's working hard. So we want to know how do we classify, as you said, and being in 2% is not a small number, but it's really, so there are about 5 million scientists in the world. So 2% is 100,000 of them. That's not it's a large number, but having, as I said, being listed among these.
It's not easy at all, by the way.
And what you said, the list you're talking about has been proposed by 3 scientists. One of them is from Stanford University, and the other is from a publisher, a very well-known publisher that classifies scientists. So what they did this time is, instead of just listing the number of publications, they started counting how many in each field. So for example, in microbiology, my ranking is 660. It sounds like a large number, but it's out of...
It doesn't.
Yeah, it's out of maybe 250,000 scientists. So it gives me something to think about in my research. We don't work to get in the list, by the way, but it's a sign that our work is causing some impact, that people are reading our research, that they are using it. It's very important to be producing this knowledge and not just using it. We don't just get technology and use it, but we try to participate
and transfer it, and
people around the world
work
use
it hard for humanity. Unfortunately, we ran out of time. Professor Ramy Karam Aziz, listed among the top 2% of the world scientists, and a pride to Egypt, and a pride to all humanity, of course, and a professor of microbiology and immunology, and our means to be able to save people from lots and lots of hurdles to come, pandemics to come. Hopefully, inshallah, not.
Yeah, inshallah, it will. Yeah, we will not have the similar one again. We will get ready.
It was a real pride having you on the Breakfast Show. I'm really honored to have you and have this chat with you. Thank you so much for coming and giving us
thank you so much
some
for
of your
inviting
time.
me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And we're going to go to a short break, and we'll come to continue the Breakfast Show. So stay with us.